Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over 6 Accelerated Dragon traps. I know you're going to love these ones. Accelerated Dragon is one of my favorite openings, especially to play from the black version. Let's get to it. Here we go. We got our first one with a trap that Fisher even fell for. So, well, Fisher could fall for it. I think most of us can, right? Let's take a look. Here we go with e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes, g6, our beloved Accelerated Dragon. And here we go with knight c3, bishop g7, this is the main line, bishop to e3 to defend, knight f6, pawn to f3, and there's lots of variations with this f3, which is just bad in the Accelerated Dragon, so please keep note of that. With that being said, castles happens, bishop c4, and here black plays the amazing move of queen to b6, looking right into the eye of this discovery, and well, there's really no good ways to move this knight to do any good discoveries. And well, in the game, white went ahead and played bishop to b3, and here we go. It is now black to move and win a pawn. What do you play here? Hopefully push pause, try to figure it out. A lot of times it's this knight on d4. We're going to be seeing lots of traps with this knight on d4, which is just losing. And here we're going to go ahead and play knight takes on e4. And if white just plays pawn takes back, well then we just play simple chess. We play bishop takes on d4 and we snuck a pawn out. Now this line is very crazy. It gives black a slight edge, and so, well, a lot of times people, if they do know the line, they play the best move here, which is knight to d5 attacking the queen, queen to a5 check, and then pawn to c3. At this point, you're just up an extra pawn, although the game is roughly equal because of the theory. With that being said, I'd rather be up an extra pawn, and although I will say Fisher was able to go ahead and draw this game, I think that most other people playing with the black side are going to be able to convert this win. All right, let's go on to the next one. One of my favorites, take my queen. That's what I like to call this one. Here we go. e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes, pawn g6, Accelerated Dragon, knight c3, bishop g7, developing and attacking the knight, bishop e3 to defend, knight f6, bishop c4. This is the modern variation. Here, white is trying to stop black from playing d5, which will achieve black an equal game. And so, black tries this idea of queen to a5, a very interesting move, very, very aggressive. What's the idea? Simple chess. Here, black is looking to go ahead and pin the knight, so knight takes on e4 is being threatened. Now, knight takes e4 is a nice little trap by itself, but here white plays queen to d2, thinking that they have defended the pawn. At this point again, we just won the pawn. White, black to move. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you push pause and try to figure it out. Here again, the knight is hanging. What do you play? Here you get to play knight takes on e4. If you don't take back, you're just losing. Knight takes on c6 here. This was the only interesting Moa move here. So if knight takes on e4 here, then we get to play queen takes on d2 check. And it doesn't matter if you take back with the knight, bishop, or the king. Here, let's just say the knight takes, then we get to take on d4, and now we've won our extra pawn, and here black is just in a winning situation. That's why there's only one variation here for white to try. They try knight takes on c6, and here I love it. If you go ahead and play the move now, let's say pawn takes on c6, well, knight takes e4 is snacking the piece. So here's the trappy move. What do you play after knight takes on c6? Hint, take my queen. Black to move. What do you play here? Only one line guarantees you the advantage. Yes, sir. It's going to be queen takes on c3 here, amazingly enough. And here, well, I mean, how could you not take, right? Pawn takes back, and then we go ahead and take on d2 right away. You're more than welcome to try the bishop takes on c3, but this just wastes valuable time because, well, after this, queen takes, knight takes, and then the knight is able to retreat, and now white is the one up an extra piece. So simple chess. We're just going to go ahead and take on d2 here. And here, well, they can move it away. Then they give us an opportunity to take over here. So king takes on d2. Pawn takes on c6. And now black is just up an extra pawn and just in a better position as this king is bad and also this pawn was bad. You could just guess how bad the game would go from here. All right, this one I like. It is called the center trick. Very similar to the one we just went over. Here we go. e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, c takes, knight takes. Bishop g7, knight c3, knight c6, bishop b3, knight f6, bishop c4, the modern variation. Castles, bishop goes to b3, queen to a5, castles, d6, queen to d2, and here, well, a nice idea. Knight takes on d4, bishop takes on d4 is the one that people will most play here. But here, queen takes on d4 gets played, and this is the trap move. After knight takes on d4, there is no good way to take back. For instance, if bishop takes d4, do you remember the move we just learned last game? Hopefully you do. It's now black's turn to win the piece. Knight takes on e4, winning the pawn, because after knight takes, queen takes, knight takes, bishop takes d4, snacks that extra pawn. That's why we see in the game, well, white's going to have to try queen takes on d4. And you can guess how many times white is going to go ahead and walk into a discovery. Well, why is this a trap? If queen takes d4, this will not win a pawn anymore, but this does give you a better position. Just remember, black's counterpart of the dark square bishop is very strong. If you can win this dark square bishop, black is strategically better. So, simple chess, what do you play here to win the bishop? Here we just play knight to g4 for a double attack. The bishop attacks the queen, the knight attacks the bishop. We're going to win it. Queen to d2, knight takes, and then queen takes on e3. And here, even though material is equal, it is now a -1 here, meaning black is just much better with the bishop pair. All right, on to the next one. This one is a beginner one, but it's very important to learn. This one is the center fork. What's that? Well, after e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes, g6, accelerate dragon, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6. Hopefully this is getting very natural to you. Here, one of white's best moves is to play the modern variation, which is bishop c4. Here, black castles, white castles, and believe it or not, castling is a mistake here. Here, white should play bishop to b3 to stop the following move. All right, hopefully you know this. After castles here, black to move and get a better position. What do you play? It's the center fork, just like if we were playing e4, e5 openings in the Italian, in the Ruy Lopez. Here we get to play, knight takes on e4, exclam. Okay, if we don't take back, we're just losing. So knight takes, and then we get to play pawn to d5, and black is better here. Why? Well, it depends what white plays here. Either way, black will be better. But the reason is that, well, black has 2 center pawns, and look at white. No pawns at all. I mean, and a lot of people here will play even worse. They'll play bishop takes d5, queen takes d5. Now you even get the bishop pair, plus the only pawn in the center. White is going to be in a very hard game here, and starting a kingside attack is going to be very tough without no center pawns with you. So remember this one. This is the center fork, and it's very good to use in your games. All right, on to the next one. The knight is hanging. Seems like this knight is always hanging in all these variations. Here we go. e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, f3. Again, whenever you see these lines, just know that something has gone wrong. This is typically played for the Yugoslav attack, and the Yugoslav attack does not work in the Accelerated Dragon. All right, here we go. Castles happens, bishop c4, and just like last time, what do we play? Queen to b6. Again, it's all about putting pressure on d4 and the b2 pawn. And the last game we saw, white went ahead and played bishop back to b3. But in this one, we're going to go ahead and see that they play queen to d2. All right, remember that weak knight. What do you play here? Hopefully you found it. We're just going to go ahead and play. Knight takes on e4, just like in the last variation. And this one, we could just take on d4. And here we get a nice tempo off the queen. After pawn takes, bishop takes, we're just up an extra pawn here. A note to the wise, do not take with the knight here, as you will walk yourself into a pin. And, well, white's advantage is minimal. It's just not worth it. After castles here, you will lose the piece back. So with that being said, just make sure you do play bishop takes on d4 to win that pawn. All right, on for our last one. By the way, if you are enjoying this, please give us that like and subscribe. With that being said, our last one here, weak d4 knight. Who would have known, huh? Mostly all the traps are about this weak knight, and with the queen, bishop, and knight putting pressure on it. e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes, knight takes, pawn g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6, bishop c4. Again, the modern variation. And here we go with queen to a5. Pawn to f3, something's wrong here. Queen to b4 for a double attack on the bishop and the pawn. Again, we just walked right into it. Now you see the idea. It is all making sense now. The bishop is being attacked, so they go ahead and play bishop b3. And what do you play here? Just like in the other ones, this time we don't get the free tempo against the queen, as she's typically on d2. With that being said, what do you play? It should be in your head now. Knight takes on e4. Knight takes on c6, and here we get the very nice idea of only one move here for black. It looks like if we just play pawn takes, well, we're going to lose here. And again, if we go ahead and play pawn takes over here, it is now white winning as they can just take back. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes check is not going to be enough here with bishop to d2 being played. So what do you play here? This nice in-between move. Knight takes on e4, knight takes on c6. Only one move here. What do you play? Simple chess. Bishop takes on c3, check. Pawn takes, queen takes check. And here we go, king to e2. The rest of the game I just like to take a look at just because it looks really nice. The king went to e2 here. And here we go, we play the very nice move of d takes c6. Now this is very important. Any other move will not be good enough. For instance, the typical move of b takes c6, now they just get to take on e4 here. What's the difference after d takes c6? Well, the f takes on e4. Now, you just lost your queen. Do you see it? Here, bishop to g4 check gets played, and this is a bad skewer right here. So, d takes on c6 was played. You cannot take the knight, but white goes ahead and plays bishop to d4 here. And again, black plays an only move here. Black to move, what do you play? This one you get to play pawn to e5 here. Take my queen, black says. And, well, there really is no better move here. So, bishop takes, knight takes check, king over to f2, knight takes d1. And now black has just survived with a lot of extra material in this position, 2 extra pawns. And, of course, the position is just good for black. The pawn structure is much better, and white's pawn structure is just in ruins. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.